What if I told you the most beautiful garden borders don't come from stores, but from trash? Today on Modhouse DIY, we're exploring DIY trash garden ideas that will change the way you see everyday junk. From simple containers to old scraps, you'll discover how to turn waste into charm for your backyard, patio, or even the tiniest yard. This video has timestamps so you can jump straight to the ideas that inspire you most. And if something sparks a question, drop it in the comments, I'll be there with you. Maybe to you, I'm just another voice on a screen. But behind every project is a real story, and a real family. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it matters more than you know. When you choose to subscribe, you're not just supporting a channel. You're helping keep a dream alive. Thank you for watching. Thank you for seeing me. There is a certain magic in turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. In one quiet corner of a backyard pond, what once was plastic waste now glides as though it had always belonged to the water. Detergent bottles, cut and reshaped with care, have been transformed into graceful swans. Their white-painted bodies curve with an elegance that surprises the eye, while their orange beaks catch the sun like a flash of warmth. The pond itself is modest, no larger than a small patio circle edged with stones, but it feels alive. The water holds reflections of marigolds, their golden petals spilling light across the surface. A few asters lean toward the edge, pale purple blossoms catching the breeze, while chrysanthemums bloom boldly like tiny suns beside them. Around the borders, sedum and Japanese anemones add textures of green and soft pink, creating a frame of perennial abundance that will endure the shift into colder days. When you glance at the pond, it feels as though the swans might move. The paint catches the shimmer of daylight in such a way that they seem almost real, gliding between lily pads and rippling circles of water. Children pause when they see them, and even adults smile, surprised by the gentle illusion. This is the charm of recycled creativity. It invites you to see beyond what something was, into what it might become. Placed here, in the favorite spot of a backyard or front yard, these swans do more than decorate. They tell a story, of thriftiness, of eco-friendly choices, of turning what would have been discarded into something poetic. The vibrant colors of the garden play against the crisp white of the swans, creating a tableau that feels both rustic and timeless. And so the detergent bottles, once destined for the trash, have been given a second life. They do not float in landfills, but instead float gently on a pond, surrounded by flowers that hum with bees and butterflies. They remind everyone who visits that beauty does not have to be bought new. Sometimes it only needs a little imagination, a little paint, and the patience to see swans inside the shape of plastic. Sometimes a garden is not only a place to grow flowers but a place to tell stories. In one backyard, the stories are whispered from benches made of drums that once held oil and stood forgotten in a shed. Now, with new coats of paint and the embrace of wood, these drums have been reborn as rustic garden seats. They do not hide their past, instead, they celebrate it. Their curved bodies carry colors of sage green, deep terracotta, and soft cream, tones that echo the cottage garden around them. Placed beneath a pergola draped in climbing vines, the benches invite you to pause. The wooden planks that top them feel smooth, the grain of the timber glowing in sunlight. Around their base, chrysanthemums bloom in fiery orange and yellow, asters add a touch of purple, and sedum swells with rich green clusters. The flowers soften the metal edges, as if nature and industry agreed to sit side by side in peace. Children sometimes climb on the benches, running their fingers along the painted floral motifs on the drum sides. Adults sink into them during long summer evenings, cups of tea or cool lemonade resting on nearby stone ledges. Stories begin here, about the day's work, about family memories, or simply about the joy of finding something unexpected in what was once waste. These benches transform a patio or backyard into more than just a garden. They turn it into a gathering place. Each bench feels like a quiet witness, holding laughter and words within its sturdy frame. The fact that they were made from discarded drums only deepens their meaning. They remind us that beauty does not come from perfection, but from transformation. As the seasons shift, marigolds keep glowing, chrysanthemums keep their fiery crowns, and asters nod in the breeze beside the drum benches. Visitors notice the harmony, metal painted by hand, wood fitted with care, flowers blooming with natural brilliance. The space feels alive, a mixture of thriftiness and artistry, of rustic charm and eco-friendly spirit. And so, these drum-turned story benches stand proudly, no longer forgotten junk. They are part of the garden's rhythm now, places where stories rest as comfortably as the people who sit upon them. In a garden, it is often the smallest details that bring the most joy. Along a quiet patio, butterflies dance, but not the fleeting kind with fragile wings. These butterflies are born from what once was overlooked, simple plastic lids, painted and reshaped into bright, delicate forms. Their wings carry colors of coral, turquoise, and soft lavender, catching the eye as they rise above chrysanthemums and marigolds in full bloom. The patio itself is a modest space, shaded lightly by a pergola that carries climbing vines. Beneath it, pots overflow with asters and sedum, their textures creating a lush carpet of color. And there, nestled among the flowers, the butterflies appear. Fixed gently on thin garden stakes, they seem to hover just above the blossoms, their painted wings shimmering in sunlight. Children see them first, rushing forward to point out the new friends in the garden. Adults pause, smiling, recognizing the familiar shapes but surprised by their transformation. What was once a lid, destined for trash, now flutters as a piece of art. It is whimsical, but it is also a statement that beauty can be found in the humblest materials, if only given a chance. The butterflies do not move, but somehow the garden makes them feel alive. Breezes ripple through the asters, and the painted wings catch shifting light, creating the illusion of flight. The chrysanthemums and marigolds frame them like a stage, bold yellows and deep oranges playing against the softer tones of the painted plastic. It feels cheerful, almost theatrical, as though the patio has been turned into a stage for nature's play. At night, when lanterns hang glowing under the pergola, the butterflies remain. Their colors deepen under warm light, casting shadows along the wooden fence. They are not just decor, they are companions to the flowers, quiet guardians of a space meant for gathering, resting, and dreaming. In this tiny garden, the plastic lid butterflies remind us of something essential. Transformation is not only possible, it is beautiful. They show us that even the smallest scrap, when given care, can find a place in the garden story. They bring a touch of wonder to the patio, turning every glance into a small moment of delight. As dusk begins to settle over a garden, light becomes the most precious decoration. In a farmhouse yard, where rustic charm thrives in every corner, lantern poles made from forgotten scraps now rise proudly. What was once junk metal, heavy rods left to rust in storage, has been reshaped into slender poles, each carrying a glowing bottle at its crown. The bottles, painted in hues of amber, sage, and soft cream, hold tiny lights within. At twilight, they flicker to life, scattering warmth across the garden like fireflies caught in glass. Around them, chrysanthemums open their fiery blooms, asters add their cool lavender tones, and marigolds glow as though echoing the lanterns themselves. Sedum creeps along the path, green clusters reflecting the lantern light in gentle waves. There is something deeply comforting about the glow. It feels humble and handmade, a quiet nod to the farmhouse spirit where nothing is wasted, and everything finds new purpose. Children follow the lantern poles along the garden's path, their steps guided by the warm bottle lights. Adults linger near the patio, cups in hand, enjoying how the glow softens the evening and invites conversation. The poles themselves are sturdy, rough at the edges, but their imperfections add to the charm. Each one carries the story of what it was before, a fence post, a rusted rod, or a piece of metal tubing. Together with the bottles, they create a rhythm through the garden, a sequence of light that pulls the eye forward, making even a small patio feel spacious and alive. As night deepens, the bottle lanterns shine brighter, their colors glowing like stained glass. The pergola above catches faint glimmers, vines swaying as if in rhythm with the light. The garden becomes not only a place of flowers but a place of atmosphere, where light and color weave together to make memories. This is the quiet gift of upcycling, to take the discarded and make it luminous. These farmhouse-style lantern poles do not pretend to be perfect. Instead, they embrace their rustic bones, standing proudly among flowers, guiding footsteps, and giving every evening in the garden a glow that feels both timeless and new. In the heart of a small backyard stands a gazebo, not grand by size but radiant by spirit. Its frame is simple wood, softened by vines climbing and curling upward. But what makes it remarkable are the curtains that sway with every breeze, a patchwork of tin and bottle glass, strung together with care. The sunlight strikes them at angles, scattering colors across the patio like a painter's brush. Bottle bottoms, cut and polished, glow in shades of emerald, cobalt, and rose. Strips of tin, once lids or scraps, dangle beside them, their surfaces painted in pastel tones of cream and lavender. Together, they create a curtain that is not meant to hide but to transform light into play. Around the gazebo, the garden thrives. Chrysanthemums beam with golden warmth, asters lend their soft purples, and marigolds light the ground like embers. Sedum creeps between stones at the edge of the patio, its texture steadying the vibrant scene. When the wind moves, the curtain sways, making gentle music as tin taps against glass. It is not loud, just enough to remind you of the air flowing through. Families gather here during summer afternoons, drawn by the shade and the dancing reflections. Children laugh as they chase the shifting colors across the stone floor. Adults sit beneath the hanging curtain, the shabby chic charm reminding them of simpler times, of thriftiness, of handmade beauty, of giving second life to forgotten scraps. At dusk, when lanterns glow within the gazebo, the curtains transform again. Bottle pieces capture the lantern light and scatter it outward, painting the garden in jewel tones. The tin strips gleam softly, their imperfections catching shadows and highlights. It feels almost like a fairy tale, as though the gazebo had grown wings of color. This shabby chic creation is more than decoration. It is a gesture of eco-friendly artistry, of upcycling made enchanting. What once was trash now frames the garden with grace, proof that beauty often comes not from polished perfection, but from humble beginnings reshaped with imagination. The gazebo, with its tin and bottle curtains, stands as a reminder: light and life are always more beautiful when shared with the garden. In the smallest gardens, where space is scarce but imagination is wide, wonders can emerge. Along the edge of a tiny yard, bright seahorses seem to rise as if swimming through air. They are not carved from stone, nor molded from new materials. Instead, they are born from junkyard scraps, twisted iron, bottle fragments, and discarded shapes once destined for the landfill. Now, they shine. Painted in hues of ocean blue, coral pink, and golden yellow, their curved forms shimmer as the sunlight plays across their surfaces. Bottle shards, carefully shaped, gleam like scales. Each seahorse seems alive, their curling tails anchoring them to the garden's edge, their gentle faces turned toward blooming flowers. Around them, chrysanthemums blaze like tiny suns, asters lend their violet calm, and marigolds add warmth to the scene. Sedum creeps between stones, grounding the brightness with steady green. Together, the plants and sculptures create a kind of seascape on land, as though the garden has opened a portal to the shore. Children see them first, rushing to point out the ocean horses in the garden. Adults linger, surprised at how something so whimsical could come from junk. The scrap iron that once rusted in silence now stands painted and proud. The bottles that once cluttered bins now glitter as scales in daylight. There is a quiet beauty in this transformation, a reminder that even the most humble materials can become extraordinary. At dusk, when lanterns glow under the pergola, the seahorses change again. Their colors deepen, reflecting the soft golden light. Shadows ripple behind them, mimicking the sway of underwater currents. They are no longer just sculptures, they are companions to the garden, storytellers in metal and glass. Placed in a small yard or patio, they turn limited space into a stage of wonder. They speak of eco-friendly choices, of upcycling not as a task but as an art. They remind us that gardens are not only about plants but also about imagination, about bringing joy into places where space is too small for extravagance but large enough for magic. In the end, these seahorses are not only colorful figures in a border. They are proof that creativity, like the sea, has no limits. There is a soft hum in the garden, a sound made not by bees or by birds, but by the breeze itself. Along the cottage border, rows of wind spinners turn gracefully, their blades crafted from old bottles cut and painted into petal-like shapes. What was once plastic waste now twirls in sunlight, transforming wind into color, motion, and joy. Each spinner tells a story. Some are painted in bright rustic tones, cobalt blue, sunflower yellow, fiery red, their colors echoing the marigolds and chrysanthemums that bloom beside them. Others were shabby chic pastels, soft lavender and mint, harmonizing with the asters and Japanese anemones swaying nearby. When the wind stirs, they move together, a dance of flowers and spinners that makes the garden border feel alive. The spinners catch not only the air but also the light. Morning sun gleams on their surfaces, casting flickers across the path. In the afternoon, they whirl with shadows that skip across the fence. And as evening settles, the fading light makes them glow faintly, like quiet lanterns bowing goodnight. Children laugh as they watch the spinners race against the wind. Adults find themselves pausing, their eyes following the rhythm, their thoughts softening. In such simple movement lies a form of meditation, a reminder of playfulness, of patience, of the beauty in small details. The border itself feels enchanted. Sedum crawls low and steady, grounding the lively scene. Marigolds flame at the edges, asters calm the palette with purple, and chrysanthemums glow like golden crowns. Above it all, the wind spinners rise, delicate yet sturdy, whispering with every turn, "Nothing is wasted here. Everything finds new life." At night, when the wind slows, the spinners rest, their blades still shimmering faintly under lantern glow. They stand like guardians of the garden's edge, waiting for morning to call them into motion again. These eco-friendly bottle spinners are more than decoration. They are symbols of transformation, of how trash can be remade into something whimsical, functional, and kind to the earth. They invite us to see the breeze not as invisible, but as a companion that paints the garden with motion and color. In the heart of a small garden, totems rise, not carved from stone nor sculpted from clay, but built from bamboo and painted cans. Their presence feels both playful and proud, standing tall among the flowers as if keeping quiet watch over the space. What was once discarded, scraps of metal and hollow poles, has become a series of vibrant towers that tell stories in color. Each bamboo rod serves as a spine, strong yet flexible, holding the stacked cans that have been painted with care. Some shimmer in bold seascape hues, deep cobalt, coral red, and bright turquoise. Others were softer shabby chic pastels, blush pinks and gentle creams, their tones blending with the nearby asters and anemones. As sunlight strikes them, they gleam like lanterns standing tall in daylight. The garden itself embraces their presence. Chrysanthemums bloom in golden clusters, marigolds burn bright at their feet, and sedum spread steady green at the edges. The totems stand among them not as intruders but as companions, their colors echoing the blossoms around them. When the wind stirs, bamboo sways slightly, giving the towers a sense of movement, like guardians bowing gently with the breeze. Children often see them as characters, a parade of giants rising from the soil, each can a new face or outfit in their imagination. Adults admire the artistry, surprised by how something so humble could become so striking. It is a reminder that creativity thrives where thrift meets vision, where eco-friendly choices are painted into beauty. At twilight, when lanterns flicker under a pergola or along a patio, the garden totems shift again. Their colors deepen, catching shadows, their surfaces glimmering faintly as though they were ancient markers of a story only the garden knows. They do not need words. Their presence alone adds rhythm and height, giving small gardens a sense of vertical wonder. These bamboo and painted totems are not merely decor. They are proof that art can rise from the overlooked, that a garden can be both sanctuary and gallery. They turn trash into a chorus of color, standing proud in the border, reminding all who pass that beauty is often tallest when it begins from the ground. In the soft corners of a backyard, laughter hides in unexpected places. Here, among the marigolds and chrysanthemums, frogs sit waiting. But these are no ordinary frogs. They are made from old buckets, painted in brilliant greens, their round bellies gleaming in the sun, their wide eyes painted with a touch of whimsy. What was once dull metal, dented and forgotten, now charms every visitor who steps into the garden. Each frog has its own personality. One sits tall with a proud curve to its bucket body, while another leans forward as if mid-croak. Some wear shabby chic pastel tones, soft mint and pale yellow, blending playfully with the asters and Japanese anemones nearby. Others shine in glossy emerald and lime, standing boldly against the rustic wooden fence. Together, they form a chorus of color and humor, bringing a sense of light-hearted joy to the garden. The flowers embrace them. Chrysanthemums cluster like golden crowns beside the frogs, marigolds flare at their feet with fiery orange petals, and sedum creeps low, offering a steady green cushion beneath. When the wind stirs, petals flicker and the frogs seem alive, as if caught mid-hop between the blooms. Children, of course, are drawn to them first, their eyes wide, their laughter quick. They crouch down, speaking to the bucket frogs as though they might answer back. Adults, too, cannot resist a smile, surprised at how something so simple could be so delightful. As daylight fades, lanterns glow on the patio, and the frogs remain. Their painted eyes catch the flicker of light, and their forms cast playful shadows on the ground. In these moments, they become more than decorations. They are companions, guardians of cheer, symbols of how imagination can thrive even in the smallest yard. The beauty lies not in perfection but in transformation. A rusty bucket, once meant for work and now beyond use, has been given a second life, not hidden, but celebrated. Painted, placed, and loved, it has become a frog that watches over the garden, a spark of humor among the flowers. In a backyard where space is limited but creativity is endless, these frogs remind us, joy can be made, not bought. Along the length of a weathered fence, little birds have gathered. Their wings do not flutter, and yet they seem alive, perched proudly as though ready to sing. These birds are not carved from wood or cast in stone. They are made from something far more humble, bottlenecks and caps, painted and assembled into feathered forms that bring unexpected delight. Each bird carries its own character. One glows in a farmhouse blue with a yellow beak, perched at an angle that suggests curiosity. Another gleams in deep red, feathers fashioned from bottle fragments that catch the light like stained glass. Some are painted in soft shabby chic pastels, pale pinks and mint greens, blending seamlessly with the asters and Japanese anemones that grow beneath the fence. Together, they create a lively row, as though the fence has become a branch of endless song. The garden embraces their presence. Chrysanthemums blaze golden and marigolds spill orange fire at the base, while sedum creeps steady along the border. The birds above seem to oversee it all, little guardians that require no care yet offer so much charm. When the wind moves, shadows dance along the wood, and the painted birds appear to shift, their forms flickering as though they might take flight. Children run to them first, pointing and laughing, sometimes even talking to them as if expecting a reply. Adults pause, admiring the transformation, how a simple piece of trash has become something so joyful. What once was a bottle discarded without thought now perches as a bird, proud and bright, reminding all who see it of the power of reinvention. At dusk, when the lanterns are lit near the patio, the birds remain luminous. Their painted bodies catch the warm glow, casting silhouettes against the fence that look like a flock at rest. The garden feels fuller, more alive, not just because of the blooms but because of these whimsical companions. These rustic fence birds are more than playful decorations. They are proof that beauty is often perched in the overlooked, waiting only for imagination to lift it into view. In their quiet way, they sing without sound, bringing joy to every corner of the garden. Tucked quietly along the garden path, a family of hedgehogs rests among the flowers. Their small rounded shapes are charmingly familiar, yet a closer look reveals a surprise. These hedgehogs are made not from fur and quills, but from recycled metal caps. What was once scattered waste has been gathered, painted, and given form, until it seems as though the garden itself has adopted new companions. Each hedgehog is unique. Some are painted in earthy browns and soft grays, their spines formed from layered caps that glisten in the sun. Others wear pastel shades of shabby chic charm, pale mint and lavender that blend with the asters and Japanese anemones nearby. A touch of glossy black paint creates bright little eyes, full of curiosity, as if they are watching the marigolds sway in the breeze. The flowers welcome them warmly. Chrysanthemums bloom like suns behind their backs, marigolds scatter fiery orange at their feet, and sedum provides a soft green carpet beneath. Together, they form a picture of balance, steel reshaped into nature, trash reborn as tenderness. The hedgehogs do not move, but their presence feels alive, as though they had paused just long enough for you to notice them. Children crouch low to greet them, whispering as if the hedgehogs might shuffle forward. Adults smile, amused at the transformation. Who would have imagined that bottle caps, once tossed aside, could become creatures so endearing? The message is subtle but powerful. Beauty can be built from what we ignore, and even small scraps can hold great charm. As evening falls, the hedgehogs shift again in the lantern light. Shadows from their spiny caps create patterns across the stones, delicate outlines that make them appear to bristle with quiet energy. They seem protective now, guardians of the flowers that bloom beside them, small but steadfast. In a cottage garden, where character matters more than polish, these hedgehogs fit perfectly. They are not only decorations but reminders of thrift, of imagination, of the joy in making something gentle from something forgotten. They bring warmth to the path, a playful touch that lingers long after the first glance. And as the seasons turn, they remain, watching over the flowers with their quiet charm. At the edge of the patio, a small wonder appears, mushrooms, but not the kind that sprout after rain. These are crafted from the humblest of materials, tin cans, painted lids, and the imagination that turns trash into delight. Their stems rise from recycled cans, painted white and sturdy, while their caps glow in bright reds, yellows, and blues, dotted playfully to mimic fairy tale toadstools. Clustered together, they give the patio a sense of whimsy, as though a woodland scene had wandered into a cottage garden. Some were shabby chic pastel tones, soft mint, pale lavender, and cream, blending gently with the asters and Japanese anemones nearby. Others blaze boldly, standing out against the marigolds and chrysanthemums, their caps catching the sunlight like lanterns hidden among flowers. The mushrooms are not tall, yet they command attention. Children find them first, crouching low and tracing fingers along the painted dots, imagining tiny fairies perched atop. Adults pause as well, surprised at how something so ordinary as a can has become something so magical. The contrast between metal and bloom is softened by paint and placement, until the mushrooms seem as natural as the flowers they live beside. The surrounding garden embraces them fully. Sedum creeps at their base, its green clusters framing the mushrooms like moss in a woodland clearing. Marigolds spill warmth in orange flames, while chrysanthemums beam golden crowns that echo the cheer of the painted caps. Together, they form a composition that feels alive, playful, and deeply thrifty, a design born from economy, yet rich in charm. As dusk settles, lantern light falls across the patio, and the mushroom caps gleam softly, their colors deepening. Shadows stretch across the paving stones, and for a moment, it feels as though the mushrooms might glow from within. In these twilight hours, they transform again, not simply as decorations, but as quiet companions of the garden. These tin can mushrooms embody the essence of upcycling, practical, thrifty, and imaginative. They remind us that beauty often begins with what we choose to see differently. In the smallest garden or patio, they bring humor, color, and a touch of woodland enchantment, proof that even junk can grow into joy. When evening falls over the garden, stars begin to appear, not only in the sky, but also within the gazebo. Suspended from beams of rustic wood, they dangle and turn softly in the breeze, each one crafted from what was once junk, old tin lids and twisted wire. Painted in shimmering tones of gold, silver, and copper, they catch the light of lanterns and scatter it across the patio like fragments of a constellation brought to earth. Some stars were shabby chic pastels, their mint and blush hues gentle against the climbing vines that curl around the gazebo's frame. Others gleam boldly in metallic colors, their surfaces reflecting marigold blooms that glow like embers at their base. Chrysanthemums stand proudly nearby, their golden crowns echoing the sparkle of the stars above, while asters lend a softer lavender contrast. Sedum creeps quietly along the stones, grounding the brilliance with steady green. By day, the stars play with sunlight. Their edges flash bright as the breeze shifts, casting moving patterns onto the floor of the gazebo. Visitors pause to watch them sway, surprised that such beauty has risen from discarded lids and bent wire. The stars humbly remind us that elegance can be handmade, and that even the most ordinary scrap can shine with the right touch of imagination. Children gaze upward, pointing and laughing as the stars spin gently in rhythm with the wind. Adults, seated beneath, find comfort in their presence, as though the gazebo had been crowned with fragments of night sky. There is a quiet poetry here, a space of gathering framed not only by flowers and vines, but also by creations that glow with second life. As night deepens, lanterns flicker within the gazebo. The stars above shimmer and dance, catching firelight and scattering it outward into the garden. For a moment, the backyard feels transformed into a small universe, intimate yet infinite. The flowers nod in the soft glow, and the gazebo becomes more than shelter, it becomes a stage for light, shadow, and imagination. These upcycled stars remind us of something simple yet profound: beauty often lies in reinvention. They do not hide their humble beginnings, but instead shine because of them, guiding every evening in the garden with gentle brilliance. In a corner of the garden, guardians stand tall. They do not breathe, nor do they speak, yet their presence is undeniable. These guardians are robots, sculpted not from new steel but from old painted drums. Once vessels of oil and work, they have been reborn with character and charm, painted in rustic tones and decorated with cheerful faces that seem almost alive among the flowers. Each robot carries its own personality. One stands upright, painted in deep terracotta with floral motifs curling across its chest. Another leans slightly, its pastel shabby chic tones softened by vines creeping along the fence behind it. Some were bright rustic blues and yellows, their eyes made from bolts and their arms from scraps of iron. Together, they form a curious family, a set of watchful figures that make the patio and backyard feel both playful and protected. The flowers embrace them. Marigolds burn at their feet, chrysanthemums stand proud beside them, and asters add gentle color in their shadows. Sedum spreads low, a green cushion beneath, while Japanese anemones rise to meet their metal forms. It is a dance of contrast, cold drum steel softened by bloom and leaf, hard edges transformed by color and context. Children adore them. They run to the robots, tracing painted patterns with small hands, laughing at the wide-eyed expressions that seem caught between seriousness and humor. Adults linger, struck by the boldness of the transformation. Junk that once stood useless has become art, whimsical and unexpected. It is proof that imagination can breathe life where none was thought possible. At twilight, the robots change again. Lantern light reflects off their painted surfaces, casting long shadows across the garden path. They look like sentinels now, protectors of the quiet night. The vines above sway gently, and the robots stand still, their forms glowing softly as though lit from within. These rustic garden robots are more than sculptures. They are storytellers, reminders that resilience and reinvention belong not only to people but also to the materials we leave behind. In their quiet way, they show us that joy can be built from scrap, and that even the smallest garden can hold wonders of both bloom and imagination. When night falls, the pergola comes alive with quiet enchantment. Hanging from its beams, jellyfish float, not in the sea, but in the soft air of the garden. They are lanterns, crafted from upcycled bottles, reshaped and painted into glowing creatures of the deep. Strips of plastic and tin dangle like tentacles, swaying gently with each breath of wind. Their bodies glow in blues, purples, and soft pastels, scattering light across the flowers below. The garden embraces their otherworldly glow. Chrysanthemums beam golden warmth at the base, marigolds flare like tiny embers, and asters soften the scene with violet tones. Sedum creeps low and steady, grounding the luminous spectacle with quiet green. Japanese anemones lean upward, as though reaching for the light of these floating companions. The flowers and lanterns together create a scene both whimsical and serene, as if a piece of the ocean has drifted onto land. Children look upward in awe, their faces bathed in the soft glow. They point at the jellyfish lanterns, whispering as if the creatures might descend to greet them. Adults linger beneath the pergola, glasses in hand, marveling at the transformation of ordinary bottles into something so magical. What was once destined for the trash has become the centerpiece of the night, a shimmering canopy of recycled wonder. The pergola itself feels transformed. Vines curl around its beams, framing the glowing shapes, their shadows mingling with the lantern light. Every gust of wind turns the lanterns into living things, their tentacles swaying, their bodies flickering. It is a show without sound, a dance between light and breeze, reminding all who watch that beauty can be born of reinvention. As the night deepens, the lanterns seem to breathe. Their glow grows softer, warmer, until they feel less like objects and more like spirits of the garden. They do not pretend to be perfect, their shapes are uneven, their materials humble, yet that is their charm. They carry the spirit of eco-friendly creativity, showing how even waste can illuminate life. In the stillness of the pergola night, the jellyfish lanterns float above, guardians of light and imagination. They remind us that every object has another story waiting. All it takes is a spark, a vision, and the will to see beauty in what others leave behind.